Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. There's a fair amount of pressure and expectation on Anthony Joshua heading into his fight with Alexander Povetkin on September 22nd. He's expected to look good, dominant in fact. He's a hot favourite with fans, the bookies. Even Joshua himself is talking it up, saying what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, and that he needs to dismantle the Russian. The question is, what does good look like? What does he have to do against Alexander Povetkin? Is a win enough, or does it have to be spectacular? What if he struggles? What if he's hurt? What if a knockout doesn't come for the second fight in a row? That's what I'm going to work through in this video, so buckle in. Let's go. Okay, so to look forward, first we have to go back. So let's rewind to get a reference point on Povetkin's only loss in his pro career, which came against Vladimir Klitschko 5 years ago in Russia. Klitschko, he bullied Povetkin that night in a fight littered with roughhouse tactics and fouls. Let's quickly review some of Klitschko's work very briefly. Despite some of the suspect tactics that Klitschko did get away with at times in that fight, the bigger man, he was able to largely have his way with Povetkin, and he used his height and reach advantages well, and he landed some pretty decent work at times. Joshua, he will no doubt look to do some of the same things that Klitschko did to Povetkin, and he has been training to cope with Povetkin's pressure style, which you can see in this training footage. You can make a strong case to say that if Joshua boxes conservatively and smartly, maximizes his advantages, he's going to canter to a points victory over Povetkin, much the same as Klitschko did. And that's clearly how the bookies feel. So they're giving 7 cents for every dollar down for a Joshua win. And Povetkin, he's at 7.5 to 1. I mean, Joshua is a massive favorite any way you want to cut it. He's expected to win. And most fans expect him to deliver a vicious knockout. And that with the bookies is also tracking pretty low in terms of the odds. Joshua himself, he's fanned the flames of expectation here by saying things like, I'm going back to the old me and going guns blazing. I've got to dismantle Povetkin with ease. So I'm the threat. I'm the one to be reckoned with. Also things like, I'm going to walk through Povetkin. Based on all that and the general level of expectation, just merely winning, it's not going to be enough. In some form, it's got to be devastating to some extent just to keep people happy. Even the haters, who I will come back to in a moment. And you might well remember there was the Carlos Takam fight in October 2017. That one ended in a somewhat controversial way, with the referee jumping in with what's generally accepted as a premature stoppage. There were boos in the crowd, there was an uproar online about Takam being denied the opportunity to try see out the fight or at least get stopped in a proper manner. And Joshua himself, he was clearly annoyed after the fight, effectively saying he'd been robbed of the opportunity to close the show in the way that he was accustomed. He wanted the knockout. Then in March this year, we had Joshua and then WBO champion Joseph Parker fight in a very cautious way for the most part. Joshua, he was taken to a points decision for the first time. And all the pre-fight talk of a war, going to war with each other, knocking each other out, it all looked awfully hollow after what was a very tactical and conservative fight. And that earned some more grumbling from fans. And since then, I actually have seen a smattering of comments here and there from a few Joshua fans who've expressed a desire to him to get back to his old ways, look to be aggressive, knock people out. Some have also admitted that Joshua's aggressive style, it was actually what lured them back into boxing or into boxing for the first time. And that's certainly a testament to Joshua's star power, but it's a double-edged sword. And some of these commenters have also said they'd be less inclined to follow Joshua as closely if he became a safety-first fighter, like Vladimir Klitschko. They don't want to see Vlad 2.0. And that's the bind that Anthony Joshua is in. He has an adoring fan base which expects ruthless results. And the more he gets knockouts on the way up in the division, the more it fed the hype machine. And the reality was that there was always going to be a Joseph Parker type fight, possibly more to come in his career. Sometimes the styles don't mesh, or the game plan for a knockout, it doesn't pan out, and you have to grind your way to a victory. But for Brand Joshua, and to maintain his popularity among the casual fans, a knockout against Povetkin, it's needed, and that will keep the fans happy, it will keep the hype up, and it'll keep the money rolling in at a frenetic pace. And sure, winning is winning, but winning in style, it does count for something, and it certainly helps the bank balance. But say Anthony Joshua struggles to a points decision, or looks patchy before stopping Povetkin, or even he gets hurt in the fight. How will that be perceived? Given he's such a hot favourite, it's probably going to go down like a cup of cold sick. If Joshua doesn't fire in this fight, and for whatever reason, it's going to dent his image and crack the invincibility aura some of his fans believe that he has. Some people think that Joshua is bulletproof and can't be beaten. And certainly some boxing fans who support rival fighters, they will be out in force rubbishing Joshua all over the internet if he does struggle. You can probably imagine it now. I certainly can. It would be brutal and ruthless. They will revel in any moment that Joshua struggles, or if he was stunned or hurt. It'd be something you would never hear the end of. For me, I think a lot of fans have been quick to dismiss Povetkin and the possibility that he could land something telling on Joshua. Because he could. He might be 39 and he might be slightly removed from his prime, getting a bit long in the tooth. But this is still heavyweight boxing, and Povetkin is still dangerous. If Anthony Joshua is looking to be more aggressive and get the Russian out of there because he says he wants to walk through him, he wants to dismantle him, he might end up gambling. He might present more opportunities for Povetkin to get some work away and land some counters. He throws great hooks with both hands, and that's always going to be a clear and present danger throughout this fight. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that Povetkin could have some success. Certainly he's shown against taller fighters before that he can have success. Obviously not Vladimir Klitschko, but Klitschko isn't the only tall fighter or good fighter that Povetkin has faced before. If he managed to have more than a little success and, say, dropped Joshua or clearly hurt him, I'm sure some would construe that to be that Joshua was not as good as advertised, that he wasn't actually that good at all. And I think that would be a false economy, because Povetkin is one of the best heavyweights in the division right now. He's got one of the best resumes from the past decade. He only has the one loss. And if Joshua was hurt by Povetkin in any way, say he takes a body shot and sort of winces or is stunned or gets clipped but recovers, there's no shame in that. It is heavyweight boxing after all. We've seen all manner of other fighters, including Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker, Dillian White. They've all been stunned, buzzed, dropped. You know, they've taken some punishment in their careers. And just because, say, for example, if Povetkin hurt Joshua, I don't understand how that makes him less of a fighter. It really is a bit crazy. But, you know, who knows if that will happen. But any hint of a bad performance, it's certainly going to be seized on, and the knives would be out from some quarters. And should, heaven forbid, Anthony Joshua lose, I'm sure there would be a sense of shock among his fans in particular, and delight among rival fans. But it is boxing after all. It could happen. Bigger upsets have occurred. And yet we as fans, we all always appear stunned when the underdog does come through, even though it's happened time and time again. So there is a lot of pressure on Anthony Joshua to perform, to deliver the performance that he's been talking about, and actually do what he says and walk through Povetkin, as he put it. And if he did lose, Well, I guess that obviously sets up a rematch for April, and that would be a far more anticipated fight than this one has been. In general, there's been a real lack of buzz heading up to this fight, and I guess that's not entirely surprising due to fans wanting the mega fight between Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I'm sure things are going to pick up in Fight Week, but you could argue this is actually going to help Povetkin because he's walking in as a massive underdog who's not expected to do much. There's really no pressure on him. That's a good plus for him. It's all there for Joshua to do, and to do it well, perhaps even spectacularly. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.